Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video, as we usually do on a Sunday evening, we have my early thoughts and transfer plans ahead of the upcoming game week. So there will be more content throughout the week, but this is just my initial reaction and some initial thoughts just to watch after the football on a Sunday evening. If you're enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment and subscribe. But without further ado, let's jump into today's video. So guys, in order to get this out for you shortly after the Manchester United-Arsenal game, I have started to record this during the Manchester United-Arsenal game. So it's currently half-time. Manchester United are winning 1-0, and that boy Anthony has scored on his debut. I promise I made the thumbnail before he scored because he was already in my consideration. As soon as I saw him starting, because of my transfer plans and when I'm playing my wildcard, there is a strong potential in the next 2 weeks we do look to bring in either a Sancho or an Anthony, which we will discuss in the next few sections. But for the rest of this game week, obviously it depends what happens in the second half, but we're looking like we should end on another green arrow, and the good start to the season has continued for me. And I think I'm making a lot of good decisions at the moment. My transfers, my benching decisions, my captaincy, but I have also been a little bit lucky. For example, the main decision for me this week was whether to start out of the 4 players, Trippier, Williams, Harrison and Estepinian. Those 4, I had to start 2 and bench 2. I chose to bench Harrison and Estepinian, and for Harrison to come off at half-time, and for Estepinian to not start, and then for Trippier and Williams to both get returns. Trippier clean sheet, Williams getting an attacking return. That was potentially pretty lucky, you could say. But I do still back the decisions that I made, and I'm delighted with the start. Generally, though, Game Week 6 has been a little bit underwhelming for everyone. To be on a green arrow with only one half left with 45 points, it was a really disappointing week. Similar to, I think, was it Game Week 3? We had a very low-scoring week as well. These weeks happen, though, and I'm still very, very happy with the way the team's set up. Realistically, the players that are letting us down are the likes of Trent, Cancelo, Salah, Diaz. And it's actually the slight differentials like a Trippier and a Pascal Gross and a Williams that are actually getting us returns. I'm sure we'll see that change in the future, but generally, absolutely delighted with the way Game Week 6 has gone. Like I said, my rank may fluctuate slightly depending on what happens in the second half. Delighted with the team. Let's now look ahead to Game Week 7 and whether I plan on making any transfers. So guys, this is the way the team currently looks ahead of Game Week 7. If you are new to the channel, we will have multiple pieces of content throughout the week. So there's still going to be a Game Week preview video. And then around a Thursday or Friday, we'll have my team selection video as well and my deadline stream. So we'll talk about the team in more detail later in the week. But this is the way we currently line up with 1 free transfer and 0.6 million in the bank. And I'll be honest, I think the team looks really strong this week. And I don't see any obvious transfers to make. And as we'll discuss in the final section, I do think because we're playing a Game Week 9 wildcard, and because Game Week 8, there are a few fixture clashes, I think there's a good chance rolling a transfer will be very valuable to allow you to take 2 one-week punts going into Game Week 8. So that's my current plan. The only things to really think about at the moment are, as you can see, I've currently got Estepinian on the bench and Nico Williams on the bench. Specifically Estepinian, I obviously think this is a great chance for a clean sheet, Brighton against Bournemouth. The issue is Brighton haven't looked great over the last 2 from a defensive perspective. Their data's still good across the season, and I don't want to overreact, but that is something to think about. Also, Bournemouth are obviously going to want to kick on after their 3-2 victory against Nottingham Forest. They're going to want to try and maintain momentum. It's at home for Bournemouth as well. And then the third reason is I still don't know whether Estepinian will start. Was that just a bit of rotation? Was he being rested? Or is it a sign that maybe Potter doesn't think he's quite ready? I did see a few Brighton fans say that maybe Estepinian's not ready for the starting 11. And Trossard plays that role so very well. So I think there's a small chance he's benched, and for the other reasons, maybe he's not going to make his way into my starting 11. So at the moment, Trippier was on the bench for me, but Newcastle just looked so good. West Ham still don't look quite there, although it was a better performance against Chelsea. So at the moment, Trippier makes his way back into the starting 11 and Estepinian does drop to the bench. The only player that maybe you could play Estepinian ahead of, or maybe you could justify, would maybe be Harrison. The reason I say that is just because he came off at half-time. Having spoken to a few Leeds fans and a few people that watched the game, apparently that was fatigue, and apparently it was maybe due to a tactical change. They went to 2 up front with Bamford and Gelhardt. But by all accounts, everyone that I've spoken to that supports Leeds believes that Harrison should start in Game Week 7. So at the moment, this is the way the team lines up. We will discuss captaincy more so later on in the week, maybe after the European games, because that might change our thinking. But at the moment, Haaland does keep the captaincy. I've captained him 2 weeks in a row. He continues to look absolutely outrageous. He's going to start against Tottenham, you would imagine. Maybe some of the easier fixtures you could imagine he could be benched, but he continues to start all of the games. I would be incredibly shocked if he doesn't start against Tottenham. And to be honest, I think, yes, the fixture's better for Salah, but Salah still doesn't quite look there. There are some stats going around on Twitter where he's been playing even wider than he was last season. He's getting even less touches in the box. And for me, Liverpool as a whole, and Salah in particular, just don't quite look at it. And I did discuss this over on Twitter. Maybe it's Matip. I do genuinely think that Matip makes Trent a better player, and Trent being in form and Trent making certain runs because he's got Matip behind him, I think that changes the way Salah plays. And maybe Mane leaving has had an impact on Salah as well. But whatever it is, I don't want to hypothesize too much. Salah doesn't quite look at it. And for me, when you've got Haaland in the form that he's in with the underlying data that he's got, I think I'm just going to continue to captain him until I see a reason to maybe deviate away from him. So by all accounts, the team's in a really good position. Like I said, 0.6 in the bank, 1 free transfer. I'm currently planning on rolling that free transfer. But in the final 2 sections, we're going to look how the team looks in game week 7, game week 8. And I'm going to show you a quick look at how my game week 9 wildcard is currently looking. So guys, I am currently using the Fantasy Football Hub My Team feature in this section. If you do want access to the My Team feature, there is a link in the description that will give you 30% off over at Fantasy Football Hub. And that means you can get access to pretty much every feature on the site for as little as £2.10 per month. So first link in the description will take you to that. Feel free to sign up. It does support the channel, but also you get access to all of these fantastic features over at Hub as well. So the reason I like this My Team feature is it basically has everything for you. It's got fixtures, predicted points, it's got your game week rating, team rating, and the best thing is you can look ahead to future weeks as well, which allows you to stay one step ahead and on top of your team and on top of your transfers as well. So this is the way we're currently set up in game week 7. Just worth noting that the Hub algorithm is telling me at the moment to captain Salah rather than Haaland, and it's also telling me to start Estepinian ahead of Trippier. So if you do want to trust a computer or an algorithm as opposed to my opinion, they would suggest starting Estepinian and captaining Salah. I'm currently leaning towards starting Trippier though and captaining Haaland for the reasons that I listed in the previous section. The reason that I want to roll a transfer is just to show you going into game week 8. So remember, I'm currently planning a game week 9 wildcard. So around game week 9, probably in game week 9, because it's an international break and because there are so many fixture swings as well for some key clubs. For example, like Leicester and Palace and Bournemouth coming in some nice fixtures. The likes of Arsenal, maybe City and Liverpool having some slightly trickier fixtures. We'll discuss that in the final section, but that is the reason I'm currently planning a game week 9 wildcard. So what that means is if I roll in game week 7, I'll go into game week 8 with 0.6 million in the bank and 2 free transfers, which what that allows you to do before a wildcard, if you're new to FPL, is basically take a couple of 1-week punts. So because we'll be wildcarding this team out and completely changing our team permanently, it doesn't matter if we want to take a couple of 1-week punts. And the reason I think that could be quite exciting and useful is going into game week 8, there are a couple of teams that have slightly trickier fixtures. So if for example, you have any Chelsea or Liverpool players, Chelsea and Liverpool play against each other. So it could be that you actually want to take a couple of 1-week punts by like removing James, removing Diaz, even if you then want them back on your wildcard. And I think there's a good chance you might not want the likes of Diaz back anyway. You can then bring them back in on your Game Week 9 wildcard. So you can take out James and Diaz for 1 week and then the week after bring them back in. The only thing that's worth noting on that is if you have money tied up in players. Now, what I mean by that is just as a hypothetical example, say you bought someone at 6 million and they're now 6.5 million. If you were to sell that player, you could sell that player for 6.2 million. If you then want to buy them back on your Game Week 9 wildcard, you then have to buy them back for the full £6.5 million price. So if you've got players that you bought at a cheap price that have gone up massively, if you sell them and then buy them back, you'll end up losing money on them. So do keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the players that you bought at a cheaper price. But outside that, it does offer the opportunity to just take a couple of 1-week punts. So for me and my team, I don't own any Chelsea players, but I'm looking at maybe a couple of 1-week punts on taking out Trent, taking out Diaz, and then bringing in players in those roles. So, for example, just as 2 random examples, and we'll discuss this more in the Game Week 8 videos, but it could be, for example, we take out like Trent for Perisic, if Perisic looks like he's going to start, playing against Leicester at home. That feels like quite a high upside pick. And then maybe, and this is where the man that we've just discussed at the start comes in, maybe we, for example, take out Luis Diaz and bring in Anthony because Manchester United have Leeds at home, which looks like a really nice fixture there as well. So it could be that with my 2 free transfers, I make those 2 moves. And then if I want Diaz and Trent back in, I can, of course, wildcard them back in. But Diaz in particular, as we'll discuss in the final section, I do think that Diaz might not be on my wildcard anyway. So that's why I'm currently looking at rolling a free transfer into Game Week 8, because I just feel like 2 free transfers in Game Week 8 could be really valuable, whereas in Game Week 7, potentially it's less valuable using one of my free transfers there. So that's the current plan for Game Week 7 and Game Week 8. The final section, I'm just going to give you a quick idea about what my Game Week 9 wildcard is currently looking like. So guys, here is a very early look at a Game Week 9 wildcard. And I say very early because so much could change in the next couple of weeks. And I still think there is justification to include certain players that I haven't. And there are some players that maybe I've included here that I think in the next couple of weeks, they could potentially make their way out. So this is very early, but it's just to give you a bit of an idea. The reason I want to do this is because it might start to give those of you that have already used your wildcard an idea of some of the fixture swings coming up and the players that you might want to target. And for those of you that are saving your wildcard, maybe to like game week 13, as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, might be another sort of later play for your wildcard, you can start to bring some of these players in with your free transfers. So this is what I've currently built. It's 0.8 million in the bank. The reason I've left that money in the bank for now is in case there are any other upgrades I want to make. And also, because I've had a really good start to the season, my team value is shot up massively. So there will be probably some of you that still maybe can't even afford this team if you've had a bit of a poor start. The reason for that is I've just been lucky enough to start the season with players that have risen in price quite well. For example, Pascal Gross, Trippier, etc. So there are some players that I might be able to afford that you might not. So I've left that 0.8 in the bank for that reason. If you have that much value, maybe you can make some upgrades. There is a few players that are going to stay the same, right? So Trent, James, Cancelo, Salah, Haaland, those 5 players there, they're going to remain the same for me. So in my team, they will stay as sort of the spine of the team. There is absolutely justification to drop Trent with the way Liverpool are defending. There's justification to downgrade Cancelo if you want to go for a Walker instead. And you can even, as you can see here, Fofana at 4.4, you could get rid of James altogether, still cover the Chelsea clean sheet. And if you downgrade those 3 players, you could really invest quite a bit of money into your attack. You could go for 3 premiums, you could fit a Kane in, or you could fit another really good midfielder in. But for me, I don't want to overreact too much. I know we've had maybe like 6 game weeks worth of data now. That's still not a massive amount, and I still truly believe that Trent, James, and Cancelo, along with Salah and Haaland, I think those 5 are just such good players in FPL, and I still think they're good value. So as a result, those 5 will stay the same. But the rest of the players have pretty much all changed. So in goal, I've got Gaeta at the moment. The reason for that is Palace's fixtures are some of the best from game week 9 to the game week 17 World Cups with unlimited transfers. So for me, getting Palace players in is absolutely essential. And at the moment, that's why I've got Gaeta in there. With respect to the rest of the team, I've currently got Trippier obviously in there for the similar sort of reasons. Newcastle's fixtures are really good. And as a defence, Newcastle look absolutely fantastic. Trippier has been getting me so many returns since I started with him in game week 1. So I'm definitely going to be keeping probably Trippier in there unless we see something over the next couple of weeks that changes my opinion. And the reason I've got Fofana in there is I just think he's such good value. To get a defender from a top 6 side, I know Chelsea haven't been great defensively, but that just feels like ridiculous value. And he feels like the sort of player where maybe in like 2 months, he could be up at sort of 5.1 million if Chelsea start to string together some clean sheets. So that's the reason for the back 5 currently looking like that. In the midfield, there's been loads of changes. So I've currently got Andreas in there. I just think with Fulham's fixtures coming up after the game week 9 wildcard, I think he's going to be such good value. He's such a good 12th or 13th man in our squads that I think he's worth probably keeping if you own him. And even if you don't, he's still probably worth bringing in. And then I've got Bailey in there. Now, Bailey, obviously, a lot of us started Bailey at the start of the season and a lot of us sold him. But he has started to string together a couple of starts and he just looks really good. And in this team, you wouldn't even need to start Bailey every week, but with decent fixtures for Villa coming up, I think they've got like Southampton and Forest coming up very soon. You've got decent fixtures, decent underlying data. If he starts the majority of games, I don't mind him again as a 12th or 13th man in our squads. And to be honest, it's probably worth paying the extra 0.2 for Bailey over just an average £4.5 million midfielder. So that's why Bailey makes his way in. And then the other 2 are talismanic players with really good fixtures coming up, and that is Zaha and Maddison. And I do think with the fact that we've got the Europa League and the Champions League coming up, I think getting players from sort of lower half-table sides or even just players from teams that aren't playing in the Europa League and the Champions League, such as Palace and Leicester, especially when they've got really high expected minutes, I think the likes of Zaha and Maddison could be excellent value for that reason. And just with the fixtures that they've got, I really do want to target Crystal Palace and Leicester. And that is exactly why I've also got Solanke and Mitrovic in there as well. So they're the other 2 that make up the rest of this team. Again, Solanke and Mitrovic, both on pens, both really good expected minutes and both really good fixtures as well. So I just think that maybe with the Game Week 9 wildcard, we should really be focusing on expected minutes and focusing on players with good fixtures. And Solanke, Mitrovic, Zaha, Maddison, etc., they tick those boxes for me, and I think they might be worth targeting. Of course, the major sort of omission in this team is I've got rid of all of my Arsenal assets. So we've gone from like triple up to none. The reason for that is Arsenal have just got really, really rubbish fixtures. So if we just have a look at Jesus as an example, if we wildcard in Game Week 9, it's Tottenham, Liverpool, and City is 3 of their 4 fixtures over after we wildcard. I mean, after that, Southampton, Forest, Wolves, etc., it's not bad. But I do wonder if we can go without Arsenal and then around game week 13, we can get a Martinelli back in or we can get a Jesus back in. So maybe we do that. Alternatively, you could, if you wanted to, downgrade one of your players. For example, downgrade a Cancelo. You could keep Martinelli in. So if you didn't want Cancelo, for example, you thought Walker was fine, although I do think with the Champions League coming up, Walker might present a potential issue for rotation. You could do something like that and then you could still get Martinelli into this spot, right? So there are options there for you if you want to. I mean, you might even be able to afford to get Diaz into this spot here as an option, for a midfielder. You might be able to get Diaz in there, something like that, right? So there are options if you want to maintain an Arsenal player, and I don't blame you if you do, especially as, again, we'll have a lot of value tied up in Martinelli. But this is just an early look, right? We're not wildcarding yet. Well, I'm not wildcarding yet anyway. This is an early look at what we'll be doing in Game Week 9, just to give you a bit of an idea about the teams and players that we might be targeting. Let me know down below, have you already wildcarded? And if not, are you planning a Game Week 9 wildcard like me? Or maybe you're going to deploy it in Game Week 7, Game Week 8 and go a little bit earlier. Really interested to hear your thoughts down below. So guys, there we have it. That is my Game Week 7 early thoughts transfer plans video ahead of the upcoming game week. If you're enjoying these videos and you enjoy the early videos on a Sunday, please do drop a like. As I've been saying for the last few videos, we've been smashing 1,000 likes in every video. So if you are still watching this and you've not yet liked the video, please do drop a like and make sure to subscribe as well. We are fast approaching 30,000 subscribers, which will be an awesome milestone to hit. Until next time, guys, thank you very much for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.